after I got off the boat, I went to the Red Museum. I was very excited. Because I had heard about it. Alexa specifically wanted me to go. As you guys know, a resident Serb, Alexa, who's currently occupying my house, he wanted me to go. He was also wondering what the Croatian attitude towards Tito is. Is it the Victims of Communism Museum? No, so Tito is Croatian. So as like the former Yugoslavian Republic's glorious leader, Tito, it's a little bit of a love-hate situation in Croatia, where like they like him because, like, you know, there was a lot of periods in Yugoslavian development under his watch, but they also are like kind of anti-socialist, anti-communist. The bunker guy, no, that's Enver Hoxha. He's Albanian. In certain parts of the country, he's more beloved. In others, he's more hated. Yeah. Like, I asked my captain of the ship that I was on how he felt about him, and he was like kind of woke. He was like, all war is done for money. It's so rich people get richer. So I'm like, maybe this motherfucker knows a thing or two, right? And he basically said, I was not a part of the party, so I did not like him. That's what he said, which is cool. I mean, he wasn't like, I fucking hate him, he's a socialist piece of shit. Usually the case that my parents' generation doesn't like him because they were young near the collapse of Yugoslavia, but any older generations do tend to think it was much better then. Yeah, that makes sense. I still enjoyed it. There was a Yugo at the museum, which was awesome, which I personally loved. No, not Yugopnik, Yugo, which is the Yugoslavian car that they made. It's like a Lada. What's the attitude towards Tito from modern leftists? I mean, it's mixed. It depends. If you're like a Stalinist, you consider him to be a filthy revisionist, and you think that his like anti-centralization initiatives were unironically what led to the demise of like Yugoslavia or whatever. I think like overall, he is definitely liked a lot by Western leftists for sure. He's seen as like a Euro communist almost. Western leftists like him unless they're Stalinist, like unless they're super pro Stalin, in which case they don't like him. But you know, Yugoslavia forever, boys. But a lot of modern leftists would like him, most likely. I'm an archaeologist who worked on partisan heritage in Croatia and also on a Ustazi camp. I hope you liked Red Museum. No way. I did. I liked it. I loved it, actually. It was so sick because like it's basically a slice of life of like, you know, socialist Yugoslavia. They have these like there's just like a living room basically filled with all of this stuff. Like there's a medicine cabinet, and it shows that like Yugoslavia had a novel chemical compound discovery, azithromycin, the medication you use for gonorrhea, which Pfizer basically sells to the rest of the world. Like that was discovered in Yugoslavia. You know, it was pretty cool. I didn't know that. They have that kind of stuff. I learned about how they saw Coca-Cola and were like, we need to immediately make our own version. I forget what it's called now. It's in the photos that I posted. They were like, Coca-Cola is very nice. We need to make our own. It's Kokta, which was cool. They had Lenin and Stalin. Here is him when he got arrested with the Giga Chad jawline. Me and the best Croat to ever do it. Me and Tito, side by side, posted up, stanced up. You already know what it is. You know what I'm saying? Here's some posters from the era, some agitprop. This one's sick. Here's me with a Yugo, stanced up. This is the Kokta, the Pepsi, next to the Pepsi, and this is the medicine cabinet. Can you apply for an IMF loan in the museum? Tito died 1991. HasanAbi born 1991. Welcome back, Tito. Yeah, except he didn't die in 1991. He died in, I think, 1980. So he died in 1980. I was born in 1991. Welcome back, Tito. Reincarnated. Yugoslavia died in 1991. I was born in 1991. Welcome back, Yugoslavia. I share a birthday with Tito, and I have a medal with his face on it. Thanks, Grandpa. Is it his actual birthday, which I believe is March 5th, or the fake birthday that he has that everyone knows as his birthday? It's another thing I learned in the museum. Like, they don't celebrate his actual birthday. He has like a separate birthday that they celebrate. I worked on Agitprop site in Dresnica. We found mechanical letters partisan used for flyers. That's so sick. I will say this much about the Red Museum. To the archaeologist in the chat, maybe you can confirm this. It was a push and pull. On the one hand, they're like, well, this guy's a Croat. And also there was like a period of massive development, right? And then also a period of massive development, and then a period of like liberalization to a certain degree that originally was kind of good and then not so good. But then there's like an entire segment dedicated to like political repression. And it's like behind a curtain, and you open up the curtain and it's like this dark room, and they're like they were butchering people. Like, oh my God, the partisans were so ruthless. And in my mind, I'm thinking like, will they say who they are ruthless to? They don't really mention it. There's almost no mention of the Ustaza. There's no mention of like Nazi invasion in the entire fucking museum, which is weird because like, as far as I understand, in Croatia, it's not even called like World War II. It's called like the War of Liberation or whatever. Right? The partisans were fucking brutal. It is true. Except who were they ruthless to? Yes, because they didn't talk about this in Yugoslavia because we were all brothers. I do love that. But anyway, like I said, they make it seem as though like it was a grave wrong committed towards some people in the aftermath of World War II. Who are those people and what was their ideological background? Who knows? They just basically stamp it as like anyone who was accused of being a collaborator was like ruthlessly slaughtered. And it's like, okay, a descendant of a partisan lieutenant, it never happened. But if it did happen, it was a good thing because they were Nazis. Yeah, there's that aspect of it. And then there's the labor camps, obviously. And then the classic like suppression of any kind of dissent. They kind of talk about that as well. Not big fans of Stalin out here, that's for sure. That makes sense though. This is the most positive coverage and treatment of events that you're ever gonna get because it's not in America or in the Western world. So it was still like very positive overall towards Tito, towards Yugoslavia, but you know, it was hypercritical of a lot of the aspects. But beyond that, I found it particularly interesting that they talked about liberalization and like economic reforms as like a net benefit across the board. Like decentralization aside, like Yugoslavian socialism being a completely separate concept, not a separate concept, but like a separate mechanism to achieve socialism is one thing, right? Like market socialism, Titoism. Having said that, beyond that, I did feel like they mostly talked about like Western allegiances being a great benefit to Yugoslavia, which ultimately it was, as long as you're talking about money, but also it simultaneously led to like the 80s economic downturn. They briefly mention it, but there's like, wow, there's a lot of unemployment. I don't know why that's happening as the privatization is occurring. I thought it was very cool that like private businesses were completely banned. The first ever private business, they gave an allocation to businesses with 3 employees. They were like, you can only have a private business if you have 3 employees, right? Small businesses. And 1988 was the first time Yugoslavia had a private business. The agrarian reforms, they talk about that a lot as well, which I thought was cool. This nerd really went on vacation to study history. It was the coolest part of the Croatian trip. My dad bought an apartment at 21 after working for 3 years in Tito's Yugoslavia. 1988 was also the first year women in the US could get a business loan without a man. I mean, 1946 is like when women had full rights and full equality in Yugoslavia. As is the case with many other communist countries, they were kind of fucking lapping the Western world on that shit, which is really funny because I'm at the museum and I'm listening to what like other people's criticisms are, I guess, because like a lot of the people that enter the museum are like, I suspect academics, but like, you know, Westerners with like not exactly the fondest opinion of socialism. So this like older lady was telling her daughter, like, of course there were no women in positions of power. It's all men. And I was like white knuckling. I just wanted I didn't say anything. I didn't want to be like, International Women's Day is literally a communist product. Okay. And also there are famous revolutionary figures that are women. Okay. Women played a very important role in both the USSR, but across the board in every socialist nation. Socialist and communist countries were literally ahead of Western nations in terms of like giving autonomy and equality to women and constitutionally protecting said equality. And I didn't say anything. I shut the fuck up. It's just, all I'm saying is she was wrong. And now I'm having shower conversations basically. And a really good thing is that the Yugoslavian legacy in Croatia is very wide education when it comes to art, history, and literature. Also, they teach you philosophy, logic, sociology, psychology in most good high schools. And I'm very thankful for it, even though I'm a STEM nerd, still flexing and spamming. I'm sorry, I really want you to see this message. I see it. Yeah. Yugoslavia legalized abortion first in Europe in 1974. Yugoslavia decriminalized homosexuality in 1977. Okay. They had a sex ed program. I learned it failed, but at least they tried. Yeah, Yugoslavia decriminalized homosexuality in 1977. Yeah, that's before homosexuality was even invented, dude. People didn't even know you could be gay back then. Yugoslavia forever. Anyway.
La 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 la, no DMCA. La 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 la, no DMCA. La